This is not your friend, Nomad McGover. Welcome to another episode of Fire Up the Ovens. I know we have been seeing for many a year the congressional people in the House and in the Senate coming in making small salaries, right? But coming out multi-millionaires, right? And you probably know that there's something up with this, right? And you're like, oh, I don't understand. Like they try to make it like, how are they all getting so rich, right? When you look at the charts, you see the sell-off of the American farms from 1890. How do we have more farms in 1890 than the baby boom era? Think about it, right? Insanity when you think about it, right? We are supposed to be a national security focused country, right? But we've sold off most of the farmland that we used to cultivate it, right? To other countries. The rights to the food industry sold off to other countries, right? Payoffs to make sure that we're not farming, right? Same it is with the manufacturer. You see, they don't want us to be productive or have what is called ingenuity, right? As an individual, right? The rich people, what they do is this is a good racket that they run it, right? Since, I don't know, maybe the 60s, maybe the 70s, but definitely by the 80s, all of a sudden, tremendous pressure to go to college, right? The university, right? The reason that they wanted you sitting in the universe is because the college steals all your material, right? So you're in school, you're giving off all your good ideas, they're giving you grading, C, B, A, but all the good ideas, they take it, right? Did you ever think about this, right? That the millions of people spending their money to get the piece of paper, but you're giving up your non-patented or trademarked ideas to the professor, and you're striving really hard, right? Very hard to make sure that you get the grade, right? You want to be the A, the honor roll. So they're giving you these meaningless awards, right? Which you're not going to translate into the dollar, but in return, you're doing all the work for the university, which ultimately takes the ideas through the back door. It's always through the back door, right? Bing, right? And then giving it to the wrong person who's going to take it and then rip it off, right? And they've been doing this for so many years and nobody's ever really pointed it out, right? I've never heard anybody point it out. But this is why they call me Game On, Game Over, also known as Nomad McGover, right? Because I see it. It's very clear, right? Because everybody is going to the college, spilling the beans onto the paperwork, getting the grade, and even if you might be getting a C, it's the idea. Maybe the quality of the writing or the research not good, but maybe the idea, solid rock, right? They take it, right? Now I tell you another one. With the manufacturer, we've talked about this before, that we have 50 states in the European Union known as the United States, right? Because we need to start to get you and me, right? We need to get a little bit of understanding here, okay? States are like countries, okay? Because one state is larger than one country in Europe. So you need to get it together, Okay? The only difference between a state and a country is a unification language, right? You must have one united language in order to make a country. By the way, I want to point it out. When you see the African American who's speaking English, they are learning a whole new lingo from the mumble rap, right? I know many of the African American people using the Urban Dictionary in conjunction with the mumble rap, and they have a different language. Why do you need a secondary language when in America we all speaking the English? And if you were going to learn a second language, why would you do it for your own country and not have it be like a Spanish so that you can maybe do the business with somebody else, right? This is like a social phenomenon, right? Where a second language, like you don't want to speak the white people language. This is a little bit ridiculous because you speak it every day, all day, every day doing the business, but when you're in your social circle, you're doing the bliggity, 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 whatever it is you're saying it, right? Here's the thing. Social pressure to fit in so you can get the big D and so that you can get the Barbie girl. You have to do it, right? You have to speak the mumble, and if you do it good and everybody can understand the mumble, it's like you're cool, right? So they do it. But what they're not seeing that they need to pay attention to, because remember this, you have the black national anthem, right? Which is called Lift Every Voice and Sing It, right? And they do it at the NFL, right? Now this is an interest, right? Because you have a group of people in the country, they wanting the equity. We want to help it, right? We don't like it when people are economically disadvantaged, right? But they may not be aware, or they might be aware, but I'm white. I'm not aware that there is potentially another country forming within a country, right? And I don't believe that all of the African Americans are in on it. In other words, if you're not cool enough to speak it to this other language, you're not fitting into the group. You're going potentially to be left out of the new country that is forming. Because when you look again into the Europe, right, what determines a country in Europe? A state with a certain amount of people, let's just say at least 1 million people, right? And they are speaking in different language, right? In the United States, we have states that have many more people than some of the countries in Europe, right? But we only call them states, right? So it's the power of perspective. You need to wake it, and you need to see it, that there is a totally new grouping, right, of people forming into the country that are speaking a different language. And also, I'm not saying I have a problem with this. I just want to point it out. It should be talked about, right? You have your own national anthem. You have your own language. I don't have a problem with it, right? It's cool that you're doing it. But here's the tricky part. The Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? In the movie, there was no African American brown-skinned people, right? The chocolate was designed to represent the brown-skinned people. And it was a social experiment, right? That you would get a golden ticket and you would get to get into the chocolate factory, right? So if you notice that from the point of time in which that movie was made, right? They made every kid watch that movie, right? And in the movie, there's a lot of questionable things. Like all the chocolate bar would be like a big black wiener, right? A scrumptiddlyumptious bar. It'd be like a big BBC, as they call it, right? I'm not talking about the British Broadcasting Company, if you know what I'm saying, right? And they had the very eerie scene it with the Candyman, right? And then they go to see the candy man, and he's hiding it in the closet, right? It's a big scrumptiddlyumptious. Why is it not on display, right? He wants the kids to see something very special, right? So the kids come up to the very creepy man at the candy store, and he goes, "Look what I've got." And he pulls it out of the cabinet. It's the BBC, right? The scrumptiddlyumptious bar, right? How crazy, right? And then you go, you get the golden ticket, you get to go to the chocolate bar, you get to go to the factory, right? And then what they're saying is like, you can find me in the club, bottle full of bub, ba-ta-ba-ta-ta, right? So if you want to get into the club, right, with the brown-skinned people, you have to do a certain type of things, right? It's like an initiation, right? But notice the interracial relations have ticked up tremendously since the 1960s, around the time that the movie come out, right? Now, you notice the pressure on anybody who is an interracial, with the white mixing it with the chocolate, they end up like a Netanyahu, like a Yuhu, right? Like a little creamy, right? Different degrees of creamy, right? But socially, they are forced to always identify the way the social pressure, right, to the African American. If you are a mixed racial person and you prefer to live like a whitey, then you're not in the club, right? You cannot be cool with us, right? It's not like it's really happened like by law, but it's like by social pressure. It's hard for them to get the acceptance in either way. So, because of the fact, politically, all the advantages, when you can go on the welfare, you can have the baby and get paid for it, you can, a lot of other cool things, right? You can go to the SBA, you can qualify as a minority-owned company, right? You can basically take advantage of the welfare state, right? Through identification of that. Plus, you got to remember that Charlie in the chocolate factory, he would a lot of times, one time he's drinking the fizzy lifting drink, right? That's a little questionable, right? Come on, a little kid drinking the fizzy lifting drink. What gets you lifted that's fizzy, right? The beer, right? Or the scotch, the doers. So you're either a beer or you're a doer, right? But either way, you drink it and you're going to be a beer or you're going to be a doer, depending on what you drink. It's a magic spell, right? But another thing about the Charlie, is the wallpaper incident, right? You got to watch it with the snozberries, taste like snozberries. Grandpa, come lick the banana, right? So Charlie goes up and he licks the banana, right? And he tells the uncle, whatever, the crazy Bernie Sanders hair guy, Uncle, whatever, I forget his name. Uncle, whatever. You know who I'm talking about, the gray-haired Looney Tune looking like a Bernie Sanders. He tells him, I try the banana. You try the banana. He goes, no, I don't want to lick a banana. But you can have a fun time with that one, right? Another thing that's very interesting is the Charlie, when he was back at home with the family, right? They was doing the laundry in the cooking pot, right? The stinky stink from the sick people. They were sick, the family. They were doing the laundry in the pot, right? They take the laundry out. Next thing you know, they're cooking in the pot, right? They're wondering why they're getting sick. Interesting, right? You know what else is interesting? In the Willy Wonka, right? Do you remember this everlasting gobstopper? It's looking very much like a virus, right? When it's done, it looks like an atom molecule, like a virus kind of thing, right? Remember, they're hiding the manufacturer of the viral candy called the everlasting gob. Get it? God stopper? Gob, God, gob, God, dog, God, gob, gob, God, God, right? Stop God, right? You follow it, right? That was in the hidden room, not in the main area of the chocolate factory, right? Charlie gets in there, and how is he making it? With the laundry, the dirty laundry, with the bacterial that would potentially cause a viral infection, right? and they're pumping out the candy. This is a very suspect thing, right? They reminds me a lot of like the COVID, right? I'm just saying but let me continue, because the word candy, you see the letter C, see it? A-N-D, A-N, die, right? C and die, right? Is it possible see and die? When you eat candy, see and die, right? It's like a magic spell, right? It's like in the Willy Wonka, right? With the laundry, and then coming out is the God stopper, right? Looking like a viral molecule, right? Wait, let me get back. Let's go back to the I bring it up because it's the manufacturing, right? The manufacturing, if you look at the chart, right? You go to the chart and you look at the manufacturing in America right now, Japan is only 15% manufacturing less than all 50 states of the United States. This is very bad taste of the state, if you ask me. Because look at the size of California alone, plus Texas, right? Think about New York. Think about Florida. And there is literally, I forget how many people is in the California, but I know there's like 20 to 30 million in New York. 10 million, there's like 30 million. There's 10 in New York City, 10 in Long Island, 10 in the upstate. Florida has like 20 to 30. I'm assuming Texas probably about the same, like 20 to 30. I'm guessing California has probably like 50. It's a lot of million people, right? I'm telling you, I guarantee it, Japan only has like less than 10 million people living there. So where's the manufacturing go? Obviously, you know it's going to China, right? Obviously, you know it's going to Japan. Obviously, it's going to Germany, right? So what is going on here? The payoff, right? This is how they're getting the rich, right? But this has a bigger effect, right? Have you ever wondered, for example, why when you get the coffee, you have to get the Colombian, or you have to get the Guatemalan, or you have to get the Indonesia, or perhaps you go for it, what is another good one? Jamaica, right? Guatemala, I said that already? But why no Hawaii? Why no Florida? Why no California? They're selling off their rights to not allow Americans to have the coffee here, growing here, right? You think about the grain, it's coming from mostly Mexico. You look at the fruity, it's coming mostly from the Central America. It's coming mostly from the South America, right? They're selling off their rights. And you stand there, America, America, and telling me it's the greatest country in the world. I don't know it. Because to me, Hawaii is the greatest country in the world. Why? Because everything they make, a lot of it, they make it there. They grow it there. They have their own coffee. They have their own tobacco. They have their own coconut, their own banana. The dole plant, the pineapple, Hawaii. They have an expo. It's called Made in Hawaii. People making their own clothing. They're making their own supplements. You don't see expo made in New York. You don't see it. You don't see expo made in Florida. I mean, you do have a little handcrafted fairs, but these are like padiddle. I'm talking about Florida. Hawaii does it right? The entrepreneurial spirit, right? They kill it in this country. They say it's the greatest country, the rich, because they enslave it. And you stand there and you, with the colors and the Trump train and the driving around Long Island with the big parade and all this buffoonery. But you cannot tell this guy is a con man. I guess it's coming more clear now. But he passes the one big beautiful bill. Think about it. Who's getting the big beautiful bill? You. This is stupid. Anyway, I'm telling you right now, there's only one person to blame. It's called the Jew, right? Because that's who backs Trump. That's who AIPAC. People have been saying you need to register as a foreign lobbyist organization. But they're not going to do it. What does that tell you? That they're not a foreign organization. They're a domestic. They run it. So I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic, just anti-Jew. Because the Muslim, I like it. Right? I think the Muslim is good people. Right? Why? Because in their country, they're not always at war with each other constantly. They used to have a lot of war. Used to be a lot, but this was a war for territory. Once the territories was figured out, and they got everything all figured out, things kind of settled down as far as that's concerned. Now, it's hard for them. A lot of fighting internally. Because we have everything, and they want to live a simple life. And of course, you have the greedy politicians, you have the greedy people, you have greed is real. It's everywhere. But where's the one who's not really doing a lot of trading with the Middle East? Why? We don't like the sovereignty, that they want to keep it. Right? Trying to take it all. But they're like, no, you have to understand it, that we are there in the beginning, when the countries were formed. We saw the treachery. We don't want to do business with the Jew. You are the Jew. We don't want to do business with you. You don't want to do business with us. Why? Because it all has to do, a lot of it, with Israel. Not the fakety fake Judah that they call Israel. It has to do with the fact that the occult, the Judeans, who call themselves Jews, got together with the Assyrians and killed the Israelis to take it. And then they backstab it on the Assyrians, right? So they're like, why would we want to do it with you business I don't care if it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years in the future. You people are just cannibals. You do the every man for themselves. But the Muslims don't do this every man for themselves as prevalently. Everybody has the treachery, everybody does the racket here, the racket there. But mainly they're trading amongst each other. And they're trying to survive with the resources that they have without being like ultimate sellout, right? Focusing on working with, trading with Russia. See, Russia's the smart one. They are like, we're not going to be like everybody else and not trade with our neighbors. We're going to try to trade with our neighbors. And if you don't want to trade with us, and you're telling me it's either going to be you or us or them or this, Russia's like, you know what? I'd rather just trade with the people who deal in real things. Like guns and gold and butter. The old time America. But instead, we want to have the little Hello Kitty, and we want to have the little Minecraft, and we want to have the little silly little gooey, and the Jewy, and the cooey, and the peewee, and the beady, all the garbage. Like 45 flavors of Doritos, like 18,000 flavors of the soda. Like, this is obviously war against us. But I don't like going to war against my own country because I was born here. I try to like help my country. I don't understand why my country wants to go to war with it. But yet they do not want to give me a decent cup of coffee. They want me to drink the stale coffee from Colombia that has to come all the way to customs, right? This is the crazy, right? Everything is so backwards here in America. But they say it that this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? But I don't see a lot of bravery. What I normally see it on the street, feminine men, right? They get very sensitive, right? I try not to even talk to a man because like, no, even men don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to another man, right? Because everybody is offended by everything. This is called baby lion. I talked about baby lion, right? This is when everybody speaks the same language, but nobody understands each other. Nobody comprehends what the other person is saying, simply because the conversation you can have is actually so limited before you upset the other person next to you. But there are people that made me homeless, and they have a lot in common. They can probably talk all the time and have no issues at all, simply because they're fruity, right? So everybody is like tapping on tap dance and tapping on little tappy taps. Like I had a fruity brother-in-law, right? I couldn't even tell him about 9/11 conspiracy on Building 7 without him losing his sheitel, right? He walking around like balding but wearing a Yankee hat because he's too afraid for people to see that he has a balding head, right? You know, you see the insecurity in all the men, right? He's too scared to drive a car. He has to ride the bicycle around at the age of 90, whatever the age he is, right? This is the world we're living in now, where everybody is femboy, right? And I'm the last masculine man from what I can see it. I mean, because I have dignity, I have pride, I fight to the last battle, right? I don't have a sneaker collection when I had the money before they made me homeless. I did not have like 45 pairs of sneakers like a fruity, right? The things that I collected, they had potential to go. They were investments. Like they stole my sports card collection, right? I did it as an investment to put my money, right? So I could have a future for myself. So they take it, right? Because I invested in the Lamar Jackson when he was a little boy. I invested in the Daniel Jones when he was a little boy. The Nick Chubb when he was a little boy. I invested in the masculine dudes, like the dogs, when they were with little guys, right? And now they're growing up like they're coming big dragon, right? Killing it, right? Everybody. Because I know what's real is the recognizing the real. And they are recognizing the video game and the Marvel comics. You know what I'm saying? Like, I go to the gym, the Planet Fitness. They're not, like, they put out, like, little paper, right? And they're like, who is better, Superman or Spider-Man? Not like, who is better, Steve Reeves or Ronnie Coleman. Or, like, Jay Cutler or, let's say, I'm drawing a blank right now. Think of Serge. Serge. I can't think of the last name. Think of, obviously the Arnold. You think of the Franco Colombo. You think of the real dudes, right? Eugene Sandow, right? The real bodybuilders, real men. No, they're more interested in who's cooler, Silver Surfer or the Green Goblin. Like, what the heck? It's just at the Planet Fitness, right? I don't know. We're just dealing with a different level. I just want to say that remember the next time you drink a 16-ounce cup of coffee, that was invented in America, because in America we needed to drink the stale coffee, very bitter, adding the milk, adding the sugar, so they can get more money for it. This is ridiculous. They say the country is free. I was not free. They've taken all my human rights. They squashed me, and they'll squash me again because I continue to talk it. So have a good day, and whatever time is left of the country, enjoy it.